Let us know when we're live. We're
We-
online. Okay, great. Let's start. We are live. So,
We're
welcome
live.
everybody to another Divine Farmer Health podcast. This is Jimmy Yin, the Acu Sensei, and we've got Chris, the nutritionist, and we're excited to talk about a new topic today. So, what are we talking about today, Chris?
We're talking about something a lot of people haven't heard about, probably obesogens. And I thought this would be good for those who watch the webinar, kind of following up on this. We talked about toxicity being a factor in not being able to lose weight. And so most folks haven't heard of the word obesogens, but it's been out there for a while. Have you heard of it, Jimmy?
Obesogens. I think recently I've heard about it.
Yeah. So what are they? Well, they're chemicals that interfere with your metabolism and your hormones, and I'll go into that a little bit more. There was a recent research study done in July 24th of 23, so this is really new, on the role in obesity and mitochondrial dysfunction. We've talked about mitochondria quite a bit on the podcast. So just a reminder for you guys, mitochondria is your battery of your body. You've got thousands of them. Every cell has them. The big muscles like heart and your quads and your brain are loaded with mitochondria. So you want them healthy and you want them working good. But these obesogens impact hormones. They impact your mitochondria. They damage your mitochondria. And so this research study was, like I said, it was just done in July 24th, and talking about the correlation between these toxins, which I'll talk about, and obesity, and included in that is a lot what we talk about, which is insulin resistance, hyper insulinemia, which is when our body's pumping out too much insulin, trying to keep the blood sugar down. So obviously there's an organ dysfunction there at the pancreas, and then a hyperlipidemia, which is a high cholesterol. So in this study, they did a lot of correlation with those things and these toxins. But as far back as 2012, you can go to PubMed, and there's an article in there, environmental link to obesity with obesogens, back in 2012. So it's been being studied for a long time. And I think probably with the advent of so many toxins in our environment, there's more and more research being done on this. The Environmental Working Group, which I've referenced that many of times. So if you guys want to go there, it's ewg.org. And they have great resources on that site, but they've done some of their own research, and they have found that the average person, this was an average person, carries about 62 toxins in their blood and their urine. So if you do blood and urine, you're picking up almost 62 toxins. But the one that was really scary was they did a study on 10 newborn babies, and they found those newborn babies had 232 different toxins in their umbilical cord. So they're coming into the world loaded down. And that could be obviously what mom's eating, what she's exposed to, all of that would impact, what the baby is coming into the world with. But it's sad to think that these babies are coming in and they're already loaded down with toxins. And so it's not just adults. So this is a huge, huge issue. And they're coming in primarily from, air, water, food, clothing, a lot of stuff we talked about on our webinar, right? Personal care products, cleaning products, all of those things. Some of these things, pesticides especially, can be very disruptive, but one of the ones that we've all heard about probably is BPA from plastics, phthalates in the plastics. And one of the things that people don't think about, this is something you can actually think about, is the softer the plastic, the more phthalates there's going to be. So if you buy a cheap bottled water, right, which is the generic, like who knows where they filled it from, you'll notice those bottles are really soft and flexible. That is loaded with these phthalates. So it's not just BPA, but it's these phthalates that are coming in from the plastic. Did you have something you want to say, Jimmy? You look like you want to say something.
Yeah, I was muted, sorry. Um, so I wanted to go back to when you were saying that babies were already having toxins.
Yeah.
So that I didn't know. So what is, what is the, whatever the research showed that babies have already a certain amount of toxins in them.
Yeah.
The babies are they're in a closed system when they're in the mother's body. So that
Hmm.
means that they're getting it from the mother.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking logically, I have no scientific proof to prove this, but I'm just thinking logically. The baby's in a closed system. The only way they can get the toxins is through the mother. So that means the mother has accumulated a lot of toxins, not just actively, but it sounds like the mother probably had a lot of toxins stored in the body and
Yeah.
therefore transferred to the baby. Does it say
Yeah.
anything about how the baby gets it?
No, it was just, they were just taking umbilical cord blood and then they were testing it. That's what they were doing. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's because I
Yeah.
mean we know that toxins are stored in the fat cells. So maybe some of that is released when a woman gets pregnant and it's released into them through the umbilical cord to the baby. And so now it leads me to believe, all because here's my point. It's like we're talking about all these things that we should do on a daily basis to prevent introducing new toxins into our body.
Hmm.
However, we typically you're about you started talking about plastic, but we as an adult we don't see a big difference in doing those things. And so for those, for females that are planning on having kids, I'm thinking now, yeah, you may not feel a difference by changing to, let's say, instead of using plastic containers, now you use glass containers. You
Yeah.
may not feel the difference in your symptoms and your health, but your baby's going to feel it. And so I'm just thinking, we have to think of the consequences of our actions, even though we don't feel symptom relief or better because we do these things, that it's still happening whether we feel it or not. And that's my point.
Yeah. Yeah. Accumulation. I don't, I don't think most people relate these toxic buildups to anything really in their body. And yet with this type of research, you're showing that there's a direct correlation between that and gaining weight and carrying excess weight on the body. Endocrine disruption, what we see, well, let me go through some more things that this is coming in from, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about what this does in the body. So plastics, a big one. We've heard about that a lot. So parabens and phthalates are, mostly plastic. But the things that I don't think most women even consider is their skincare products. And a lot of women, you open a cupboard and they've got probably 10 or 15 things in there that they're putting on their skin. And they slather on. Women are really great for this. The guys are, they use the aftershave and the deodorant. They might use some hair gel, but they're not putting on the makeup. They're not, lipsticks especially, have shown to have mercury in them. So, there's things that women are just putting on a lot more than the guys do. So unfortunately, that's an area where women can really, we can really slather it on. The other thing is flame retardants. So this was outlawed, but do you remember when the baby's clothes were flame retardant? They started putting flame retardants
Yeah.
on the sheets and the baby's clothes, and thank goodness it was outlawed. But those are kind of scary. Sunscreen products. So there's something in the sunscreen, the SPF sunscreen, which we slather all over ourselves in the summer and kids and everything. Oxybenzone is what it's called. And that is an obesogen. That is a toxin. So again, if you go to the environmental working group and you look up, I think it's Skin Deep is what it's called. They will give you sunscreens that are not contain this. They do not contain this. So there's options out there. The other one is pharmaceutical drugs. There are some pharmaceutical drugs, especially in the antidepressant arena, the serotonin reuptake inhibitors. those can also do the same thing as these obesogens. So they're not, we take a pharmaceutical drug, it can impact our gut microbiome and all kinds of different things. So a lot of times when people are on pharmaceuticals, they need to be on pharmaceuticals. They need to pay attention to detoxifying as well. It's important to support the body to detoxify. Any thoughts on that, Jimmy?
Well, I like to go back to the definition of a medication. And anybody can Google this. The definition of a medication is it has a side effect. Medications are chemicals. They do not belong in the body. Yes, a lot of them, like for example, penicillin was, actually majority of medications are derived from some type of mold, herb, but it's not the same thing. When they discovered penicillin, it was from mold. But penicillin is not the same as mold. And it's just like vitamin C is not the same as a orange. Just because an orange contains vitamin C does not mean when you take a vitamin C tablet, it's the same thing as an orange. So what I mean, the reason why I'm saying all this is because all of those things are chemicals. Even vitamin C in a tablet is a chemical. Yeah. And so, medications are chemicals. They don't belong in the body. We're not saying don't take them. That is not what we're saying. We're just saying you have to be alert that, hey, yes, you need this medication to sustain your life, but at the same time, it's helping one thing but hurting another thing. And again, we're not saying don't take your medication, but you have to find ways. And as long as you take that medication, you will always have that toxin in your body, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's not like something you can just stop. So that's what you have to work with. So what can you do to balance the rest of the organs to support them while the medication is helping one but hurting others? And so, the hurting part a lot of times is weight gain. And because remember, toxins are stored in fat. And so the more fat you have, the more toxins you input into your body, whether it's through in your mouth, you're breathing it in, or like Chris was saying, putting it on your skin, all of those ways you are bringing in more toxins on a daily basis. So, and I want to go back to my point of sometimes, yes, many people, because I've had patients tell me, yeah, I'm doing all these things, but I don't see a change. I don't see a change in my health. Yeah. And you're not, for some people, for most people, I would say you're not going to. It takes years of buildup, right? Before you actually start feeling it. And here's the thing, when you actually start feeling the effects, you don't correlate it to the habits, the lifestyle habits that you did 10 years ago. But do those habits accumulate? Absolutely. But you don't correlate it. The only thing we think about is, what did I eat yesterday? Or what did I eat last week? And we think that was what caused our problems. It's not. It's years of accumulation of toxins. And every little step helps, but you won't see it until 10 years later, the benefits of it.
Yeah, it's an accumulative thing, obviously. And we live in a sea of chemicals. So you can't get away from it anymore. It's not like we can go live in a pristine bubble somewhere. So the most important thing is we support the body to deal with it. But I think when it comes to weight gain, very few people consider these chemicals correlated with weight gain. And like you said, toxins being stored in the fat. And when we talked about this on the webinar, where, your body's going to identify that coming in and say, I have no tools to deal with this, because the liver and the kidneys eat a lot of things to handle this. And so it just sends it right back out. And if we don't have enough fat cells to store it, it makes more fat cells. So I don't think most people think of that, nor do they think of it in terms of when we go to lose weight. A pound, I always tell my clients, think of what a pound of butter looks like. I mean, that's a pretty good dense, right? A pound of butter. And we lose a pound and we're like just so disappointed that, oh, we lost as a pound, Well, think about what your body had to do to take that solid piece of fat and convert it into water soluble substance to get out to the bowels and the kidneys and, lymphatic system and the skin and everything else where we excrete. And in that fat are toxins. So if your body doesn't have the tools it needs to handle that, it is not going to let you lose any more weight. it's a self-protection mechanism. It's saying, no, you can't. There's too many toxins coming down the pike here. Every time you lose a pound, I got to deal with all this stuff. So, that is something I don't think very many people even think about when they're going on a weight loss program. It's just, I want to see that on the scale. I want to see those pounds come down, right? So these obesogens are, what they do in the body is they mimic, especially in the sex hormone area, they mimic the sexual hormones, and they will turn on, let's say, for instance, with estrogen at the cellular site, the receptor site, they will mimic estrogen and make the system make the bad estrogen, right? And so this is very concerning, obviously, for women with breast cancer and uterine cancer and things like that. But this also can make men have the what we call man boobs, right? Because they're
Exactly.
they're cranking out more estrogen when they shouldn't be. It totally dysregulates the sexual hormones, the estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and totally messes them up. And women, I see clients often that are having a hard time with weight loss, and it's estrogen dominance. If we do a hormone test on them, their estrogen is through the roof. And they may even be menopausal and their estrogen through the roof. So these things really are impacting us at the hormonal level, regulating that. They also interfere with your appetite and satiety mechanism, which are hormones. We have leptin and ghrelin, which are hormones that make us feel satisfied or make us feel hungry, and these can interrupt with that pathway too. So we're feeling hungry all the time. It's like we're overweight, but we're hungry and we feel like we're starving to death. Or you have people who say, I'm overweight, but I don't eat very much, but I always crave this or crave this or crave this or whatever. Their satiety is just off. So these hormones are really, really impactful. And I mean, these chemicals are very impactful. And again, we live in a sea of them. So, we can't avoid them, but we can certainly support the body to get rid of them. So before I go into that, do you have any thoughts on the hormone thing, Jimmy?
Well, there's a common, what I've seen, like physicians will do, is we're talking about sex hormones, especially for
Yeah.
women
Yeah.
in menopause. So for those of y'all who don't know, estrogen is there's two main female hormones. One is estrogen, one is progesterone. Estrogen stimulates fat storage. So you can say more estrogen, more fat.
Yeah.
Progesterone stimulates more of the fat burning. And so what I've seen physicians do because of that is they start giving women progesterone, whether it's through a shot, whether it's through a pill, a cream. And that's not what we're saying to do. Just because one hormone may stimulate fat burning, doesn't mean you just keep on pumping that hormone. There needs to be a balance. And so it's important that, but you need to understand that estrogen, typically stimulates fat production, fat storage, really, and then progesterone, fat burning. So that's one point. The other point is the BPA. Going back to the BPA. So I was at a seminar, and they were showing, I love research, but then I also, I'm hesitant to believe all research. But they were showing that plastic is plastic. Doesn't matter if it's BPA free. BPA free plastic is not natural in this world. We made it. So regardless of if it's BPA free, because now they have like it's not BPA, but BPC or something like that. But anyways, the point to summarize, plastic is plastic. And once I heard that, I mean, again, am I going to feel the effects? No, I'm not going to notice until 10 years later, but I'm going to do everything that I can that's going to be more natural. And plastic is not natural. It is man-made, not natural. So what I've done is I actually, I used to drink in a BPA-free plastic water bottle. So after I learned that all plastic is plastic, regardless if it's BPA free, is I purchased the stainless steel. So now I drink out of stainless steel or glass only. I don't drink out. I threw away all of my plastic bottles at home. Yes, the top still has plastic up here, but again, it's not about perfection. It's about every little bit helps. So changing it to, stainless steel, and plus stainless steel keeps the cold and keeps the warm drinks warm. So, but those are the things that I learned. Do I know that? Can I prove that it's true that all plastic is plastic? No, I can't. I don't think anybody's going to do that research because there's so much plastic in our world. But little things, will accumulate over 10 years. So I'll let you know after 10 years.
Yeah, actually, I've actually read that too and heard that as well, that the BPA plastic things are just a no. I have a glass water bottle. And you definitely don't want to microwave in plastic. There's been lots
Mhm.
lots of research on that. I mean, talk about putting it right into your food. That's terrible. So let's talk about
Yeah.
some of the things we can do. In the few minutes we have left, let's talk about some of the things that we can do to help our bodies to reduce the toxic load. So I call it total load. And everyone's total load is different depending on where you live, depending upon, like you said, whether you're drinking out of plastic bottles or, whether or not you're microwaving in plastic, or if you're, we now know there is what's called new building syndrome, where people will move from a building where they work in, they build a new building and they go into the new building, and then it's all new carpet and new furniture and everything is outgassing and people get sick. The EMFs, the electromagnetic fields, people sitting in an office cubicle with another 50 computers going and cell phones and everything sitting. Actually, in Europe, they actually have a CPT code now for this. You can go to the doctor and actually get a diagnosis of EMF sensitivity. Some people, their nervous systems just can't handle it. Maybe you've even seen this in your clinic. People just, some nervous systems. I have a dear friend in Oregon, and she cannot talk on her cell phone for very long. I mean, she has to have it on speakerphone and away from her, and she can only do it she starts to feel really weird in her head and everything. So some people are just super sensitive to that. So we are living in the sea, and it's a total load effect. And like you said, we don't quote feel it because we don't know really where is it impacting our body. Is it causing more inflammation? Is it causing dysregulation in our insulin? Is it causing dysregulation in our hormones? We wouldn't really be able to identify it because there's no way to do that. So the best thing we can do is do what we can do. Like you said, you can't be perfect, but you do the best you can. So the first place to start is what you put in your mouth. And that's the thing you have a control over. And we talked about organic food a lot. And again, I can send you to the ewg.org website, and you can look at their Dirty Dozen. And it often shocks people that strawberries end up as number one every year. Every year, they're number one, the most heavily sprayed. And I see moms in the grocery store open up a carton of unorganic strawberries and hand them right to their kids. And I just want to, I have to just shut. It's really, really hard because it's like, oh my gosh, that poor kid. So, there are things that are really, really heavily sprayed. And so on the ewg.org site, you can get the Dirty Dozen, those ones you absolutely want to stay away from. So we can control as much as we can with our food, our skincare, like I talked about. And again, on the EWG site, you can go to Skin Deep, their database, and you can look up your skincare product. And then they have other options in there for skincare and sunscreen and things like that are not as toxic, or maybe don't have the heavy duty toxins. Cleaning products in your home. This is a really big one. Most people under their kitchen sink, you open it up, you can't even, there's no space. It's just jammed with cleaning products, a cleaning product for everything. And like I mentioned on the webinar, we have two, and we have used these non-toxic cleaners for, I can't even remember, as long as I can remember, where you mix it up and you mix it up to the the level that you want is called super 10. So you can do 1 to 10 or 5 to 10, 5 to 1 or 1 to 1. You can use it to clean a car, or you can use it to clean a floor, or you can use it to clean a bathroom. I mean, there are products like that out there. You don't need 5 different products to clean your bathroom. So, as you get rid of these things from underneath your sink, think about, do I want to go buy that again? Maybe I should look for something that's more of a multi-purpose, non-toxic cleaner. And there's a lot of them out there, and they clean just great. Yeah, they work great. You don't need all these different cleaners. That's a really big area. Clean water, super important. We have a Berkey filter in our home that we filter through. You can do a reverse osmosis in your home. A lot of people have that. But, the water like you're drinking out of your right now, Jimmy, you probably have something in your clinic. You want to make sure you're drinking all day long if you can. Pure water. That's super important for detoxification. That's right up there with clean food. And then air, if you can, like we have an air filter in our home. And we live in the country, so it's really dusty. That's the main reason. But still, there is furniture, there is carpet, there is all this stuff that's outgassing. So you can do air filtration system a whole house, or we have a unit that does 800 square feet. So what we do is we put it in our bedroom at night. So it does bedroom and part of the living room area. And so we're always sleeping in a room at night that's definitely, it's 8 hours in there where we know the air is being filtered. So those are some really foundational things that you can do. There are obviously supplements that can support kidney and liver. I'll talk about a couple of those. And of course, we're not recommending anything here. We're just telling you make sure you go and you check with your healthcare professional if there's anything that would be interacting with any medication that you're on. And also for dosing, we don't tell you doses. We're just going to give you suggestions for some supplements that are helpful for liver and kidney support. And the one that I use with some of my women that are estrogen dominant, we really know they're estrogen dominant, is called DIM, D-I-M. And it helps support healthy estrogen detoxification at the liver level. And so that's a really common one. And then there's milk thistle. A lot of people have heard of milk thistle, and there's milk thistle teas, and there's milk thistles in a lot of supplements. And that supports phase 2 on your liver detox. So you have different phases in your liver detox, but that supports phase 2, and also helps support with that estrogen metabolism. So again, if we have estrogen dominance, then we want to support the liver to be able to convert that estrogen to water to get it out of the body. Another one is N-acetylcysteine. A lot of people call it NAC, and that supports something called glutathione production. Well, glutathione is your master antioxidant in the body at the cellular level, the liver level. It is what we call a conjugator. It grabs a hold of the fat molecule coming in, which all your pesticides and everything are all fat. They come into the liver, and they got to go through phase 1, and they got to go to the intermediary phase where the body says, can I handle this or not? And if I can't handle it, guess what? Shooting it back out in the bloodstream and into the fat cell. But if you have glutathione on board, it helps to convert it to water. And then it goes out to the bowel and the kidney and sweating and lungs and all the detoxification pathways. So N-acetylcysteine is another common one a lot of people are taking. And then we get into methylation, which is a total another topic, but we need to methylate correctly to detoxify correctly. And there's methionine is involved in that, and glycine is involved in that, taurine is involved in that. So some of those things are just coming in through the foods that we're eating, they're amino acids. And those all help that pathway too. So there are some supplements you can take, but foundationally, I know, Jimmy, you and I are on the same page with this. You got to start with food and water. Those are foundational. Supplements are just what we say they are, supplementing your diet. We don't need to be taking grocery bags full of supplements. We really need to start with food, water. And then if we are really struggling, let's say with estrogen dominance, then we want to clear some of that out. We can help support the body to do that. So we got about a minute left. Any thoughts on all that?
Yeah, and what I'll summarize, and a lot of this sounds very complex, And it's like, wow, I have to learn all that just to lose weight. You don't. So yes, it is complex, right? Because the body's complex. If our bodies were so simple, everybody would be dropping weight left and right without even trying, right? So our bodies were made miraculously, and they are complex. But the beauty of it is there are, Chris and I, we've simplified it for you, and we've simplified it so you don't necessarily need to learn all of those biochemical things that happen, right? Because there's solutions that are simple. Actually, the best solutions are simple but not easy. That's the best solutions. I would say the worst solutions are easy. Popping a pill is easy. Like, you don't change your diet, change your lifestyle, you don't change anything in your home, just popping a pill. That's easy, but that's not a permanent solution. So if you want a permanent solution, there are simple ways. We have a simple system. We created a 4R weight loss protocol, simple system. It's not easy, right? It's not easy because it requires you to take action, but it's simple. You don't have to learn all these complex biochemical names, chemistry and so forth. We've broken it down in four simple steps. And you can learn more about that. We actually did a webinar this past Monday. So we'll put in the link. I'll have my team put in the link of where you can register. If you haven't watched it, you can register. It's a free webinar. We go for about an hour and a half, and it will explain, why you're not losing weight, why most people, try their diet, do all these diets, they lose the weight but gain it right back. Why is it not a permanent weight loss? Because majority of the diets do not fix the root cause. So maybe you're thinking, what is the root cause? Well, that's what we address in that webinar. So we'll put that link below, and you can register and watch it. It's on demand, so you can, once you register, you'll be able to watch it. Okay. Yeah, we are right over time. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for another episode of our podcast. We are here every Thursday, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, and our mission is just to share this information out there so that everybody, our mission is to help the 7 billion people in the world. And so if we have to do these podcasts every single week, that's what we're going to do, because our focus is on helping you restore your body's natural ability to heal itself. All right, guys,
Awesome.
we will see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.